Ad Astra is one of the most frustrating movies I've seen in a long time. This was a film that I went into hoping and perhaps even expecting to really like. I'm a pretty big sucker for slow burn, introspective sci-fi movies, especially when they're set in outer space, and I like Brad Pitt quite a bit as an actor. To be fair, there is a lot about this film that I really enjoyed. I especially love the world and how fleshed out it is. There are so many little speculative details on how things might work in the next couple hundred years, both in terms of technological advances as well as social conventions, and it's all really interesting. You can tell that a lot of thought has been put into this setting, and it's almost all communicated to the audience without exposition. There's a lot of show don't tell in this movie's world building, and most of it is done fantastically. One particularly eerie detail I loved was that throughout the movie, Brad Pitt is subject to these AI-administered psych evaluations that he has to keep passing in order to continue being eligible for various rights and privileges.
Please begin your psychological evaluation as best you can. Please describe your current mental and emotional state.
I'm feeling good. Ready to do my job to the best of my abilities.
It's like something out of an episode of Black Mirror in that it sets off a bunch of red flags for us today, but still feels like it could totally be within the realm of possibility for some version of the near future. Every single technical aspect of the filmmaking is also very well done. The direction, editing, cinematography, visual effects, sound, sets, music, everything is fantastic, all around. The film is often atmospheric and tense, especially in the first half, and I could honestly recommend checking it out on a big screen just based on these merits alone, despite the fact that I'm now going to be spending the rest of the video ripping into it. Unfortunately, the parts of Ad Astra that didn't work for me were its plot, themes, and characters, which are some pretty big, important parts of a movie.
This might come as quite a shock to you.
So when I say characters, what I really mean is character. Brad Pitt is the only person we spend any meaningful amount of time with in this film, which I kind of figured going in, but Brad Pitt is usually a very likable, charismatic actor with great screen presence, so I was on board for that. However, his character in Ad Astra is excruciatingly dull. His defining traits are extreme stoicism, reserved, cool under pressure, and deep-rooted abandonment issues, which make him even further emotionally detached. All of this we know because he spends the entire duration of the movie droning on and on and on about it through constant internal monologuing about how indifferent he is to everything. He already has to talk about his feelings like 5 or 6 times in the movie during his AI psych evaluations, so this monologuing is way overkill.
What are you thinking about?
By the end of the film, it's long since past the point of becoming both pretentious as well as extremely redundant, and I would love to see a cut of this movie where all or most of it has been removed. It kind of reminds me of Harrison Ford's internal monologues in the theatrical cut of Blade Runner.
They don't advertise for killers in a newspaper. That was my profession. Ex-cop. Ex-killer.
I feel like I would have found this character more interesting if he either had more of a personality or if they had surrounded him with a more dynamic cast of characters for him to bounce off of. Like I said, he's the only character you get to spend any quality time with. Every other character just feels like a wasted opportunity. Whenever someone else in the cast besides Brad Pitt starts to get some screen time to do something interesting or reveal some aspect of their personality, they're all, without fail, promptly and unceremoniously removed from the film. So between the dull, uninteresting character and the dull, underdeveloped plot, which I'm getting to, despite a very strong opening scene, after a while I started to get kinda bored watching Ad Astra. And then, after a while longer, I started to get really bored. And unfortunately, when I get bored during a movie like this, my mind inevitably begins to wander, and I start to notice the boatload of little logistical problems regarding space travel and other nitpicks that I ordinarily wouldn't quibble over if I were more engaged. However, when the director of the film is on record saying he's set out to make, quote, the most realistic depiction of space travel that's been put in a movie, well shit then, I guess it's totally fair game for me to bitch about how unrealistic and stupid so much of it is.
Are you ready? I'm ready.
Okay, so Brad Pitt's dad, Tommy Lee Jones, was the captain of the Lima project, which was the very first mission to travel to Neptune at the edge of our solar system, because from out there it's apparently much easier for our instruments to observe far-off planets, and Tommy is obsessed with making first contact.
Its objective was to search for advanced extraterrestrial life.
Lima embarked on its mission when Brad Pitt was only 16 years old. Then, when he was 29, just as his dad was reaching Neptune, Earth lost contact with the ship entirely. So assuming Brad Brad Pitt is the same age in this movie as he is in real life, this means that Tommy Lee Jones has been missing for about 26 years. Got all that? Good, because it's going to be important later. Now, when the film begins, SpaceCom, the outer space branch of the United States military, is investigating a series of massive system-wide energy pulses originating from the last known coordinates of the Lima project, and that they theorize are being caused by the Lima's antimatter reactor. These pulses are apparently a huge problem, though, because they somehow threaten the stability of all life in the system, somehow.
A highly classified material that could threaten our entire solar system. All life would be destroyed.
I seriously doubt that a man-made object would be able to wreak such destruction, but whatever, it's powered by handwavium, I get it. I just wish we had some sort of way to gauge how serious the pulses are. Like, at the beginning of the movie, these guys are just like, yep, these energy pulses, serious business, they'll be pretty bad if they keep up. Yes, sir.
All life would be destroyed.
Then throughout the movie, there are like 4 or 5 occasions where big problems are caused by an inopportune energy pulse, and it begins to feel pretty lazy after a while, but aside from knocking out electrical equipment for a few seconds each time, we're given no explanation as to why exactly these pulses threaten the very nature of life itself, which we're told up front that they do.
All life would be destroyed.
Or how long it will be until they get to that point. As cliche as this might sound, I think I'd appreciate at least like a ticking clock or something to give a threat this vague and ill-defined a little bit more immediacy. Also, for some reason, SpaceCom thinks, based on nothing but a hunch, that Tommy Lee Jones is still alive and is causing the Lima to emit these pulses intentionally because he's just that much of a jerk, I guess.
SpaceCom believes my father's responsible.
I'm gonna have to get into some spoilers here, so while I'm gonna try and avoid or dance around most of the big twists, if you don't want any of Ad Astra spoiled for you, you should probably go watch the film first and then come back and finish this video, because otherwise my audience retention analytics will be super low and Susan Wojcicki will murder me in my sleep. Also hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. So their plan is to fly Brad Pitt to the moon, from which point he can get his ass to Mars so that he can use this super powerful laser communications array that only exists on Mars to send his dad a message and politely ask him to stop creating the pulses.
We're counting on you to find out what's happening out there.
Even ignoring the fact that physically flying Brad Pitt to Mars for this purpose is incredibly stupid when he could just record the message on Earth, then relay it to Mars, it gets even stupider because it turns out that Plan B is to fly another ship out to Neptune with a nuke so that it can destroy the Lima and stop the pulses. Except it kinda seems like this might have always been the plan, so I don't know what the point of sending the message was, especially since for some reason they punish Brad Pitt when sending the message works. Whatever. Remember though, it took Tommy Lee Jones 13 years to get out to Neptune, and while I'll grant certain concessions here, like the fact that the Lima project would have been making pit stops along the way to perform research, or that it's been like 40 years since it left and space engine technology may have progressed significantly in that time, Brad Pitt's ship is able to make the trip out to find him in just 79 days. That's less than 3 months for those keeping score. So even assuming that they didn't have the Lima's exact known coordinates, you're telling me that despite it now being possible to get to Neptune and back in under 6 months, nobody has ever attempted a salvage operation of the ship in the 26 years since it went missing? Not even with an unmanned probe? It doesn't seem like they even need a particularly advanced ship to do this either. The standard Moon to Mars transport vessel Brad Pitt takes to Mars in the first place is the same ship he later travels out to Neptune on, and the crew of that ship didn't even know they were supposed to be going on that mission until they got to Mars.
We're approaching Mars.
It's heavily implied that Mars is just about the farthest away from Earth that anyone ever usually travels, so does this ship even have enough storage for food, air, water, fuel, etc. necessary to make a trip that long in the first place? Also, if it takes 19 days to get from the Moon to Mars, why does it only take 79 days to get from Mars to Neptune? Neptune is really f***ing far away, guys. Were they taking the scenic route from the Moon to Mars for some reason? Is there an interplanetary speed limit? Speaking of the Moon, who designed the Moon's infrastructure and why is it so dumb? While the Moon dune buggy chase sequence with space pirates may have been one of my favorite parts of the film, why, for the love of God, would you ever design these facilities such that you have to take a dune buggy ride through a dangerous no man's land ridden with space pirates in order to get from the civilian spaceport to the military military spaceport.
It's like the Wild West out there.
And even assuming this was the only way that could have been planned out, if at some point you ever need to, I don't know, escort a VIP through this no man's land, wouldn't you want to give him more security than just a couple guys armed with the same handguns that the pirates use? There were a bunch of other small details that bothered me as well, but honestly, I feel like none of this at all would have been such a big issue if Ad Astra's story and characters had just been a little bit better thought out. This film's interesting world and highly impressive production values certainly deserved it. Although in the movie's defense, the part where Brad Pitt fights a space baboon in Zero G was pretty f***ing metal. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, help me out by hitting that like button, subscribing for more in the future, and ringing the bell to stay up to date on all of my latest stuff. Leave a comment down below with any of your thoughts on Ad Astra, and check out some of the other great stuff I've got up on my channel. As always, thanks so much to all of you guys for watching, and take care.